The morning sun had barely risen over the horizon, casting long shadows on the streets of a bustling city. As the city slowly came to life, people of all walks hurried towards their destinations. Among them, Michael Johnson, a tall, athletic black man with a warm smile, dressed smartly in a crisp blue suit and carrying a briefcase. He was heading to a crucial meeting that could potentially elevate his career to new heights. However, his usual calm demeanor was soon to be tested in the most unexpected way. At the bus stop, a diverse group of people gathered, waiting for the next bus. The air buzzed with the sound of morning chatter and the occasional honk of early traffic. Among the crowd stood an elderly white woman, her features twisted in an expression of displeasure as she surveyed her surroundings. Her name was Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore, known in her community both for her charity work and, unfortunately, her sharp tongue and narrow views. As Michael approached the bus stop, he nodded politely to the people around him and took a spot near Eleanor. He noticed her stiffen, but chose to keep his attention on his phone, scrolling through his presentation one last time. Suddenly, Eleanor's voice cut through the morning air, loud and dripping with disdain. "I don't understand why they let your kind sit wherever they like these days. There should be rules against it." The crowd hushed, their attention snapping towards Eleanor and Michael. Michael looked up, meeting her gaze with a calmness he didn't feel. "Excuse me, ma'am. I believe I have as much right to be here as anyone else." Eleanor scoffed, turning to address the bystanders. "Back in my day, there were proper places for everyone, and everyone in their place. It kept things orderly, respectful." Michael felt the heat rise in his cheeks but maintained his composure. "With all due respect, Mrs. Whitmore, those days are over. We're all equal and we all deserve respect regardless of color." The tension at the bus stop escalated, with some people nodding in agreement with Michael, while others avoided eye contact, uncomfortable with the confrontation. Just as Eleanor opened her mouth to retort, a voice boomed from behind her. "Actually, I believe the gentleman is correct. We all share the same rights here." Turning around, Eleanor's face went pale as she recognized the speaker. Behind her stood none other than Charles Thompson, a well-respected figure in the community and the head of the city council. His imposing figure and stern look did not tolerate any nonsense. Eleanor, who had always prided herself on her connections and social standing, was suddenly at a loss for words. Charles stepped closer, his eyes fixed on Eleanor. "Mrs. Whitmore, I would hope someone of your experience and standing would promote unity and respect, rather than division. Michael here is not only a respected citizen, but also a key speaker at today's council meeting on community relations." The crowd murmured, some with surprise, others with interest. Michael, now recognized by some, received nods of respect and support. Eleanor, flustered and embarrassed, muttered a weak apology before finding a seat as far away from Michael as possible. As the bus arrived and everyone boarded, Michael took a deep breath, his heart still pounding from the confrontation. He found a seat by the window, his mind racing over the encounter. Little did he know the day had more surprises in store, ones that would change his perspective in ways he never imagined. As the bus trundled along its route, Michael gazed out of the window, watching the city awaken with the hustle of morning routines. The tension from the earlier confrontation lingered, fading slowly with each passing mile. Around him, whispers and muted conversations filled the air, occasionally punctuated by the soft ding of a stop request. Michael's thoughts drifted to the upcoming presentation, focusing on the impact he hoped to make. Meanwhile, at the back of the bus, Eleanor sat isolated, her mind a tumultuous sea of emotions. The confrontation had left her shaken, and Charles Thompson's words echoed, challenging long-held beliefs that now seemed archaic in the bright light of scrutiny. She watched Michael from a distance, noticing the way others spoke to him with reverence and familiarity. The bus made another stop and several teenagers hopped on, their laughter and banter injecting a fresh energy. Among them was a young black girl who noticed Michael and approached with a hesitant smile. "Mr. Johnson, I saw your last community workshop online. It was really inspiring." Michael's face lit up with a genuine smile as he engaged in a brief but meaningful conversation with her, discussing her aspirations and offering words of encouragement. As the girl returned to her friends, buoyed by the encounter, Eleanor observed the exchange, her thoughts swirling with confusion and uncertainty. At another stop, a middle-aged man boarded, his arm in a sling. Michael immediately rose, offering his seat, which the man gratefully accepted. As he stood leaning slightly against a pole, Eleanor's gaze followed him, witnessing yet another act of kindness. The bus journey continued, winding through neighborhoods that showcased the city's diversity. From affluent areas with pristine gardens to more modest streets lined with tightly packed homes, the city presented itself in all its varied glory. As they passed a large mural celebrating unity and community, Michael felt a connection to the vibrant expressions of hope and resilience depicted. Eleanor, taking in the same mural, found herself contemplating the shifts occurring within her. The images of people from all backgrounds working together, laughing and supporting one another, contrasted sharply with her earlier outburst. This visual narrative, combined with Michael's composed yet firm stance, began to soften her hardened views. As the bus neared the civic center, the hubbub increased. People prepared to disembark, gathering their belongings and shuffling toward the exits. Michael checked his watch, his mind now fully on the day ahead. He had presentations to give, meetings to attend, and, perhaps most importantly, minds to influence. Eleanor remained seated as others left, her eyes tracing Michael's confident stride as he exited the bus. The morning's events had planted seeds of doubt about her perspectives, leaving her with much to ponder. The bus pulled away, continuing its route, as Eleanor sat in quiet reflection, the city outside reflecting a world moving relentlessly forward. Inside the Civic Center, a buzz of activity greeted Michael as he navigated through the corridors teeming with local officials, activists, and residents eager to participate in the day's discussions. He checked in at the reception, received his name badge, and proceeded to the main hall, a spacious room with rows of chairs facing a large podium. As he prepared his notes, Michael felt a tap on his shoulder. Turning, he found himself face to face with Charles Thompson, whose presence commanded immediate respect. "Michael, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts today. The community needs new perspectives, especially on such critical issues." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I appreciate your support," Michael replied, feeling the weight of the opportunity before him. The hall gradually filled, the murmur of conversations growing louder as the clock ticked towards the start time. Michael scanned the room, noticing the diverse assembly of attendees, all united by a common interest in fostering better community relations. The meeting commenced with Charles Thompson addressing the assembly, emphasizing the importance of dialogue and understanding in overcoming social barriers. "Today, we gather not just to speak, but to listen. Let us open our minds and hearts to the realities of our fellow citizens." Michael listened intently, his resolve strengthening with each word. When it was his turn to speak, he approached the podium with a steady gait. The room fell silent, all eyes on him as he began to share his vision for a more inclusive community. His presentation included data, personal anecdotes, and strategic initiatives that challenged the status quo and proposed tangible improvements. During a break, attendees clustered around Michael, eager to discuss his ideas further. Among them was a young woman who worked in urban development. "Your approach could really change how we implement our projects. Could we collaborate to integrate your strategies into our upcoming plans?" "Absolutely," Michael responded, his heart buoyed by the positive feedback and potential partnerships forming. The day progressed with workshops and panel discussions, each contributing a piece to the complex puzzle of community dynamics. Michael participated actively, his earlier encounter with Eleanor not far from his mind. He hoped that today's dialogue might bridge gaps not just in policy, but in personal biases as well. As the afternoon waned, the energy in the room remained high, with people animatedly sharing insights and forging connections. Michael, amidst the crowd, found himself more hopeful than ever about the direction their efforts were steering the community. Unseen by him, Eleanor entered the hall, hesitantly taking a seat at the back. She had spent the morning in contemplation and had made a decision to face her biases by attending the meeting. From her vantage point, she observed Michael, seeing him not just as the man she had confronted at the bus stop, but as a leader passionately advocating for change. The day's proceedings were drawing to a close, with Charles Thompson returning to the podium to wrap up the session. His words were a call to action, urging everyone to take the day's lessons beyond the walls of the Civic Center. As the crowd began to disperse, Eleanor remained seated, her thoughts deep and transformative. The journey ahead would be challenging for her, filled with learning and unlearning. Meanwhile, Michael exited the hall, unaware of Eleanor's presence, his mind already planning the next steps in his mission to unite and uplift the community. Post-meeting, the Civic Center's atmosphere transitioned from formal discourse to informal networking. As attendees mingled, Michael found himself pulled into various groups, discussing potential collaborations and expanding on the ideas he had presented earlier. The enthusiasm was palpable, with each conversation opening new avenues for mutual projects and community initiatives. Amidst the sea of participants, Eleanor navigated through the crowd with a sense of purpose yet unfamiliar to her. Her morning of reflection had catalyzed a decision to engage directly with those she had previously misunderstood. Spotting Michael surrounded by a group of eager listeners, she hesitated, then mustered the courage to approach. "Mr. Johnson," she called out softly, her voice uncertain. Michael turned, surprised to see Eleanor standing there. "Mrs. Whitmore, I didn't expect to see you here. What can I do for you?" Eleanor took a deep breath, her next words crucial to her journey of change. "I wanted to apologize properly for my words this morning. I was wrong, and after listening to your presentation, I see things differently now." Michael regarded her for a moment, recognizing the effort it took for her to come forward. "Thank you for saying that, Mrs. Whitmore. It means a lot to hear you're considering other perspectives." Encouraged by his receptive response, Eleanor continued, "I also wanted to ask about your programs. I'm thinking maybe I could learn more, perhaps even help out somehow." Michael's expression softened, and he nodded, seeing an opportunity for growth, not just for Eleanor, but for the community as a whole. There's always room for more hands, especially those eager to make a difference. Let's talk about what that could look like. As they stepped aside to discuss further, other attendees continued their interactions, the room buzzing with plans and promises. Nearby, a group of local business owners discussed funding community projects, while volunteers from various NGOs exchanged contact information, each interaction threading together the fabric of a community striving for betterment. In another corner, Charles Thompson observed the exchange between Michael and Eleanor with a quiet satisfaction. Witnessing such transformations was a reminder of why he had dedicated his life to public service. He made a mental note to follow up with both of them, considering the potential impact of their collaboration. Throughout the hall, digital displays showcased upcoming events and workshops, each designed to tackle different community issues from education to public safety. Attendees took notes, some scheduling reminders on their phones, eager to keep the momentum going. As the event wound down, the remaining groups gradually dispersed, leaving the hall echoing with the fading sounds of departure. Outside, the evening cast a golden hue over the city, the sunset painting the sky in vibrant colors. People exited the building, stepping back into their lives, but carrying with them the insights and inspirations of the day. Eleanor, walking alongside Michael, felt a stirring of hope, her view of the world subtly shifting with each step. They discussed potential meeting times, considering how her skills could benefit the community efforts. As they reached the steps of the Civic Center, they paused, looking back at the place where significant connections had been forged. Their conversation continued, each finding value in the other's experiences and views, a testament to the power of dialogue and the potential for personal transformation. The days following the council meeting unfolded with a renewed sense of purpose for many of its attendees, especially for Eleanor and Michael. They met several times, discussing how Eleanor's network and resources could be utilized to support community initiatives. Each meeting brought them closer to a plan that would leverage her experience in organizing charity events to benefit Michael's community projects. One sunny afternoon, they sat together in a quaint cafe near the Civic Center, surrounded by the lively chatter of other patrons and the clinking of coffee cups. Here, they hashed out the details of a community fair that would promote local businesses and provide job opportunities for the youth. Eleanor took notes diligently, her demeanor indicating a genuine commitment to the cause. Meanwhile, Michael contacted various community leaders and local entrepreneurs, inviting them to participate. The response was overwhelmingly positive. with many expressing excitement about the fair's potential impact on the community. As he organized these elements, Michael also worked on a workshop series aimed at fostering understanding and cooperation between different community groups. At one of their planning sessions, Eleanor suggested inviting Charles Thompson to speak at the fair, considering his influence and dedication to community cohesion. Michael agreed, recognizing the value of having such a respected figure endorse their efforts. As they delved into the logistics, they also discussed marketing strategies to ensure a wide reach. Eleanor proposed using social media platforms and local media outlets to advertise the event, tapping into her connections to get favorable rates for advertisements. Back in her home, Eleanor revisited the mural she had seen from the bus, the vibrant depiction of unity and community. Inspired, she contacted the artist, inviting them to create a similar piece live at the fair, believing it would encapsulate the spirit of the event. Michael, on the other hand, spent his evenings refining his workshop content, focusing on interactive activities that would engage participants and stimulate meaningful conversations. He enlisted the help of local educators and psychologists to develop materials that were not only informative but also engaging and empathetic. The community center, where the fair would be held, buzzed with activity as the day approached. Volunteers, many of whom were teenagers eager to make a positive impact, helped set up booths and decorate the space. Each booth was designed to not only offer services and goods, but also to provide information on various community resources. Eleanor, witnessing the energy and enthusiasm of the volunteers, felt a surge of optimism. Her interactions with them, filled with encouragement and laughter, marked a stark transformation from her prior isolationist views. She found herself more open to other perspectives, her conversations reflecting a deeper understanding and respect for the community's diversity. As the preparations reached their final stages, Michael reviewed the list of speakers and activities, ensuring everything was aligned with their goals for the day. The fair promised to be a cornerstone event, one that would not only bring the community together, but also pave the way for future collaborations. With everything coming together as planned, the anticipation built among all those involved. The community fair was set to be a day of celebration, learning, and unity, embodying the collective effort and shared vision of a community striving for inclusivity and progress. Early on the morning of the fair, the air was crisp and filled with promise. Volunteers arrived at dawn, their spirits high as they performed the final touches on the booths and stages. The park where the fair was set up began to transform under their careful hands, with colorful banners and festive decorations lining the walkways and trees. Eleanor arrived with a basket of homemade muffins, distributing them among the volunteers as a token of appreciation. Her smile was genuine and her interactions warm, a stark contrast to her demeanor just weeks before. She moved through the setup process with a vigor that matched her younger counterparts, placing signage and arranging the welcome desk. Michael coordinated with the tech team to ensure the sound systems and microphones were perfectly tuned for the day's speeches and performances. He walked the grounds, double-checking each booth for readiness and compliance with the planned layout. His phone buzzed continuously with updates and last-minute inquiries, which he handled with an adept calm. By mid-morning, the fair was bustling with early attendees. Families, young couples, and groups of friends streamed in, drawn by the lively music and enticing smells wafting from the food trucks parked at the perimeter. Children dashed towards the games area, where volunteers managed face-painting stations, a mini carousel, and other fun activities. Near the center of the park, the main stage hosted a lineup of local artists, community leaders, and activists. Michael introduced each speaker, facilitating discussions that ranged from local history to initiatives aimed at improving neighborhood safety and education. The crowd engaged actively, asking questions and offering suggestions, creating a dynamic exchange of ideas. In one corner of the fair, Eleanor led a booth dedicated to historical community achievements, featuring photographs and artifacts donated by local families. Her detailed knowledge of the area's heritage, combined with her newfound openness, made her booth a popular stop for attendees curious about their city's past and its transformation. Adjacent to Eleanor's historical booth, a team of local health workers conducted free health screenings and wellness workshops. They offered advice on nutrition, mental health, and preventive care, emphasizing the importance of community health as a collective priority. Throughout the afternoon, Michael and Eleanor met repeatedly to discuss the flow of events and address any emerging needs. Their cooperation was seamless, a mutual respect having developed from their shared goal of nurturing a cohesive community. As the sun began to set, the artist who had been invited to paint a new mural unveiled their creation. It depicted various scenes of community life, emphasizing diversity and cooperation. The unveiling drew a large crowd, and the applause was heartfelt, reinforcing the fair's theme of unity. In another section, teenagers manned a booth showcasing a project on sustainable practices. They demonstrated simple techniques for reducing waste and conserving energy at home, engaging visitors with interactive models and eco-friendly product samples. As the day transitioned into evening, the fairgrounds were illuminated by strings of lights that cast a soft glow over the smiling faces. Music continued to float through the air, mingling with laughter and the ongoing chatter of satisfied attendees. The fair not only celebrated the community's culture and spirit, but also exemplified the potential of collective effort and understanding in fostering a resilient and inclusive society. As twilight deepened, the fair continued to thrive under the canopy of stars emerging above. The park, alight with strands of twinkling lights, resonated with the hum of ongoing festivities and animated discussions. The evening's cooler temperatures brought out more locals, eager to enjoy the community spirit and the night's lineup of entertainment. Eleanor found herself surrounded by a group of elderly residents who shared stories of the neighborhood's evolution. They reminisced about the days gone by and expressed delight at seeing new generations actively participating in community betterment. Eleanor listened intently, her earlier prejudices dissolving further with each tale of hardship and triumph. At the arts and crafts booth, children and adults alike indulged in creating pottery and other handmade items, guided by local artisans. The focus was on using recycled materials, reinforcing the fair's theme of sustainability. Each finished piece was unique, symbolizing the individuality and creativity of the community members. Nearby, a local dance troupe performed traditional and contemporary routines, blending different styles to showcase the cultural diversity of the city. Spectators clapped and tapped along, some even joining in during the interactive segments where dancers taught simple steps and encouraged audience participation. Michael oversaw a booth dedicated to youth mentorship programs, engaging with teenagers interested in career guidance and academic support. He connected them with mentors from various professions who had volunteered to share their knowledge and experiences. The booth was a hub of aspiration, with lively conversations about future possibilities and opportunities. A few steps away, a local tech startup had set up a virtual reality (VR) station, offering attendees the chance to experience historical events and future city projects through immersive simulations. This novel attraction drew a curious crowd, eager to glimpse the past and future through high-tech lenses. As the fair approached its climax, a popular local band took the stage, playing a mix of beloved classics and original songs. The music enveloped the park, pulling even the most reluctant onlookers into the rhythm and melody. Couples swayed, friends danced, and even strangers found common ground in the shared joy of music. Eleanor and Michael, having ensured the smooth running of the fair, finally took a moment to enjoy the fruits of their labor. They joined a group of community leaders at a reserved table, sharing refreshments and watching the festivities. Their conversation flowed easily, touching on the successes of the day and the potential for future events. As the band announced its final song, children released glow sticks into the sky, creating a luminous spectacle that mirrored the starry night. This magical moment was emblematic of the fair's success in bringing the community together in celebration and collaboration. With the music fading into a soft close, attendees began to disperse, their faces lit with smiles and their hearts full of new memories and connections. The park slowly emptied, save for the volunteers who began the process of cleaning up, their spirits high from the day's achievements. Throughout the park, the echoes of laughter and conversation gradually gave way to the serene sounds of the night, marking the end of a day where every moment was a step towards a more unified community. In the days following the fair, the community buzzed with an energized atmosphere. The successful event had ignited conversations across various platforms, from social media to local news outlets, praising the efforts and the palpable sense of unity it fostered. Participants shared photos and stories, highlighting memorable moments and the diverse activities that had brought the community closer together. Michael found himself in a whirlwind of follow-up meetings and interviews. He spoke passionately about the importance of continued engagement and the power of grassroots initiatives to effect real change. Local business leaders and policymakers sought his counsel on replicating the fair's success in other contexts, hoping to broaden the impact throughout the city. Eleanor, too, experienced a shift in her daily interactions. Her participation and change in attitude did not go unnoticed. Neighbors and friends approached her with newfound respect and curiosity, eager to learn about her transformation and her role in the fair. She shared her experiences candidly, hoping to inspire others who might also harbor doubts or hold on to outdated beliefs. At the community center, a large bulletin board was erected, displaying photographs from the fair and inviting attendees to add their own pictures and notes. The board became a colorful tapestry of faces, messages, and shared experiences, a tangible reminder of the event's vibrancy and community spirit. Meanwhile, local schools incorporated discussions about the fair into their curricula, encouraging students to reflect on their participation or to express what community meant to them through essays and art projects. Educators used these discussions to foster a deeper understanding of civic responsibility and community care among the youth. Michael and Eleanor planned a series of workshops based on the interest and feedback received at the fair. Topics ranged from cultural appreciation and environmental sustainability to economic development and public health. These workshops were designed to maintain the momentum and to deepen the community's capacity to address and solve its challenges. Volunteers who had participated in the fair organized themselves into more formal groups, aiming to sustain their involvement and to initiate new projects. They met regularly, brainstorming improvements for future events and discussing other areas where their collective effort could make a difference. In preparation for these ongoing and new initiatives, Michael developed a small grant program, funded by local businesses and private donations, to support community projects proposed by residents. The program was met with enthusiasm as it empowered individuals and groups to contribute directly to their community's growth and well-being. Eleanor took a particular interest in a project aimed at bridging generational gaps within the community. She envisioned a series of storytelling sessions where older residents could share their histories and experiences, providing valuable lessons and fostering intergenerational connections. The library, inspired by the success of the fair, launched a community history project, inviting residents to contribute stories, photographs, and artifacts that highlighted the community's heritage and ongoing evolution. This initiative aimed to create a living archive accessible to all, celebrating the rich tapestry of the community's past and present. As these initiatives took shape, the community's landscape began to reflect its newfound vibrancy and interconnectedness, proving that the seeds planted during the fair were blossoming into a sustained movement towards a more inclusive and dynamic community. As autumn approached, the crisp air brought a renewed vigor to the community's ongoing initiatives. Michael and Eleanor continued their collaboration, now focused on the upcoming seasonal events that could further cement the foundations laid by the summer fair. They worked closely, planning a harvest festival that would include local farmers and artisans, showcasing the community's agricultural roots and crafts. The Harvest Festival planning sessions became a hub for creative ideas. Local musicians expressed interest in performing, and food vendors proposed a showcase of autumn-themed dishes that would highlight regional cuisine. The event promised to be another significant gathering, drawing on the lessons learned from the fair to enhance the experience and engagement. In parallel, the storytelling sessions Eleanor had envisioned began to take shape. The first session was scheduled at the community center, where residents of all ages gathered to listen to the narratives of the older generation. The stories ranged from historical accounts of the community's development to personal anecdotes of days gone by. The sessions quickly became a cherished activity, with each meeting attracting more participants eager to connect with their heritage and each other. Meanwhile, Michael took the lead on a community cleanup initiative. He mobilized local schools and volunteer groups to target areas in need of care, turning neglected spaces into community gardens and play areas. These activities not only beautified the neighborhood, but also instilled a sense of pride and ownership among residents. At the local schools, the impact of the fair-inspired curricula began to show. Students initiated their own community projects, from recycling drives to tutoring programs, demonstrating the ripple effects of the earlier engagement. Teachers supported these student-led initiatives by linking them with local experts and resources, facilitating a practical learning experience. The grant program Michael had started received a multitude of applications, each proposing unique ways to improve and enrich community life. The selection committee, comprised of community leaders, including Eleanor, met regularly to review proposals and allocate funds. The successful projects ranged from a community bike repair shop to enhanced transportation options, to a series of health and wellness workshops aimed at increasing accessibility to fitness and nutritional education. As these various projects unfolded, the community's physical and social fabric began to transform. New murals appeared on previously blank walls, each a splash of color celebrating local artists and themes of unity and diversity. The community gardens flourished, becoming communal spaces where residents could meet, share stories, and exchange gardening tips. The library's Community History Project expanded, now featuring a digital archive that allowed broader access to the collected stories and artifacts. This digital platform became a valuable resource for schools and researchers, further embedding the community's rich history into its growing identity. Eleanor, once a figure of division, became a beloved ambassador for change. Her journey from skepticism to active participation inspired others who might have felt sidelined or resistant to change. Her regular contributions to the community newsletter were eagerly anticipated as she shared insights from her journey and the ongoing projects. As the preparations for the Harvest Festival reached their final stages, the community buzzed with anticipation. This event was not just a celebration of the season, but a testament to the enduring spirit and collaborative energy of a community revitalized by shared goals and mutual respect.